He knew, and he was preparing you, and he's with you. He's not left you. He's still there, and he can be a real resource, a real grounding for you. And it's okay if it feels like he's far off. Well, hi, I am Dr. Barb Steffens. My doctorate is a PhD in counselor education and supervision, and I got my doctorate when I was in my 50s. So I'm a late bloomer. I'm also married. My husband and I just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary just last year. I've been working in the area of partner care, so working with the person who finds out that their loved one has been betraying them, hiding secrets from them. I've been doing that for well over 25 years. And I started doing it because I was already a counselor, and then life happened in my marriage. I went for resources, and what I found were resources that didn't make a lot of sense to me and described me in a way that, again, didn't make sense. So as a believer, as someone who trusts God, I decided that it was what he was telling me to do, was to go and try to learn more and do more education, as well as working with betrayed partners. So as I worked with these mostly women, I heard trauma in everything that they said. But in the literature that was out there, trauma wasn't even identified. And that didn't make any sense to me. So that took me on a journey that I now know God had for me. And I found trauma. One of the fun parts of getting a doctorate is you do a dissertation. And so my dissertation was, when partners experience this level of betrayal, do they experience trauma? And I knew I was going to find trauma, but I didn't know how much. In my study, 70% met all the criteria for post-traumatic stress. And that's significant. And getting that information out has helped change our field. So now, hopefully, if you are a person who finds out that your loved one's been hiding secrets from you, sexual secrets, it's much more likely that you're going to have someone available to help you who understands the trauma that you are experiencing, who understands the complexities of that, and who understands that there is nothing you did to cause this or to deserve this. But this is something that's happened to you. And so we want to help you because you have just been injured. So what if you're concerned, or perhaps you have found out that your loved one has been hiding sexual secrets from you? In my research, what I found out is the vast majority of times when this stuff gets uncovered, it's because a loved one, usually a spouse, has some kind of inkling, some sense that something is going on, and that they are the ones that initially stumble upon it. So it might be going to your computer, it might be that you just have this nudge or gut sense, or maybe you believe that the Lord is telling you there's something going on. And so you go and you seek and you try to find it. And that's when you find it. That's that first discovery point where maybe before you thought something was going on, and now you have hard evidence. It happens occasionally that the person who's struggling with their behaviors will come and tell you, but I will let you know that's pretty rare. Usually what happens is you find it. And then what happens is you just have this rush of adrenaline and shock go through your body because maybe you anticipated it, but you really didn't want it to be true. And so now there's this trauma response that gets triggered in your whole body, in your brain. And you may feel shocked. You may feel disturbed with what you see, what you find, a variety of things. You may even feel like you go outside your body, like you can't remember a few minutes or even an hour or even a couple of hours. That's trauma. That's what it's like when discovery happens. I wish it could be more planned, that we could say, okay, this is the appointment time and I'm going to find out this information. But it tends to not happen that way. You feel blindsided. And that's a normal response. You're not crazy. If you're angry, if you're hurt, if you can't stop crying, if you collapse, any of those things are normal responses to significant traumatic experiences. And of course, this is traumatic. When trauma happens, it sets our body into this place where we don't feel safe. And we expect to feel safe in our primary relationships, in our marriage relationships. And now, when discovery happens, you're finding out there's something that is putting me at risk, and there is something that's been going on that's putting us at risk. And if you're a family and you have children, maybe it feels like it's putting the children at risk. And so you're terrified, you're shocked, you're mad. You may feel more anger than you ever knew you were capable of, or you may not have any emotions at all, but it's all common, normal, typical. You're not crazy. Now you've been through that experience of discovery, that's what we call it in our field, we call it discovery. Now that you know, part of you probably wants to not know. So sometimes when you find out and discovery happens, you just kind of put it aside. I find that that happens a lot if you are in a life stage where you're really busy. Maybe you have small children. I've talked to women who've just given birth and discovery happens right after that, and your full attention is on that baby or on your children, and so it can be really tempting to just put it over here. But I want to encourage you, if this is you and you're in that kind of life space and you find out this information, pay attention to it, because discovering this information is an opportunity. It's a dangerous one, but it's an opportunity to ask questions, to move towards trying to get some answers. It will help you if you understand how long this has been going on. And I can tell you it's going to be a while before you have solid answers to those questions. Your loved one who has been hiding all of this information for anywhere from months to years, even before you married them, in most cases, if you're in a marriage relationship, it happened way before you entered the picture. And so everything in you is going to want to know everything right now. And because of the nature of this kind of secret keeping, someone who has been sexually acting out and working really hard to hide it, it's going to be very hard for them to just break and to let you know and answer all the questions that you have. But start writing down your questions. Start writing down, what do I need to know? If you are a person who journals, use that because it'll help you keep track of how you're feeling and what it is you want to know. The next thing I want you to know is really important. Please don't walk through this all by yourself. Do this in community as best as you can. Maybe think of one close friend who you have maybe talked with them before about difficult things, and they feel safe enough. And you don't have to tell them everything. You can just say to them, wow, please pray for me because I just found out something and it's really scary. So take small steps, but don't go alone. Also, when you find out this information, it's very normal to also think, what in the world, God, were you doing that you let this happen? Why didn't you let me know? And so there can be this sense of feeling almost betrayed as well by the Father, by God, because you want His protection. But I want you to know He knew, and He was preparing you, and He's with you. He's not left you. He's still there. And He can be a real resource, a real grounding for you. And it's okay if it feels like He's far off. I can guarantee you He's not, but you may feel like He's far off. So come up with a plan in terms of, how do I want to speak to my loved one about this? We call that a confrontation, and it doesn't mean you have to be mad, but you can be. If you are, be honest about how this is for you and what you feel. Have it in a time where it's quieter. If you have children around the house, it's probably better to have it in a quieter place where they don't overhear, so we can protect them for right now. But have a plan on how are you going to say this. When I went through this, I contacted a friend, and she was praying for me the whole time that I was having this conversation. And it was so helpful knowing that she was doing that. So have the confrontation, and I want you to know there's lots of ways that your loved one can respond. And the least likely is he's going to say, oh, I'm so glad you found, let me tell you everything. He's not going to do that. He or she, this can be a female who's been acting out as well. But the person, the struggler, is going to say either, yes, I did that. And it was just momentary, I'm really sorry. So they may minimize it. Or they may deny it. They may say, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do that. You're making this up. So they're putting you off and not getting honest yet. Most common is they'll say, yes, I did it, to what you already know. And then what a lot of partners do is they just continue to feel in their gut, in their spirit, there's more. So they'll ask another question, and then they get another answer. So it tends to be kind of this trickle out kind of process where you get a little bit at a time. And that's torturous. We don't want that for you. So next suggestion would be find someone that can give you some more expert assistance or help or direction on how to do this. There are trained clinicians and coaches who know how to help exactly in this situation. And they're going to give you sound advice that's not hurtful to you. And they will help you start to move towards this process of getting the information that you need. And for the struggler to start to get the information they need to move towards health again. For the struggler, I want to say something to you. This may feel like the worst possible scenario, but it's God's best that this come forward so that you can be who God has really intended and created you to be. He has love for you. He has compassion for you. And he has love and he has compassion for the person that you've wounded through your secret. So he's going to be there for both of you. But please don't run away from this opportunity to get help. So I just said that God's best is for you to be with him and to get assistance and to not run away from this journey. I mean, we know the Bible is full of stories where people who love God went astray and engaged in sexual behaviors that they knew God would not approve of. And there were consequences to that. But the Father's heart is that you return, is that you turn toward him and you get some help. And he may feel far off. He may feel like, oh, he's mad at you and you can't talk with him. But as we see in the scriptures, he wants us to come to him. That's our best, is to be with him, to walk with him through this. For the person who's been betrayed, I always think of poor Job. And when he was going through all the things he was going through, and his friends came and told him all the things that you must have done this in order for this to happen to you. Or maybe you didn't do this enough, or these horrible things would not have happened to you. But then ultimately, Job found out it wasn't any of those things. And God honored him and redeemed the time and gave him everything that he needed. But I say that to let you know that God didn't think you needed this in your life. Person who is betrayed, you don't need this. He didn't say, she needs this or he needs this to go to the next step I have for them. No, it's not his heart to bring us pain. But it is his heart to redeem the things that happen to us. And I want to let you know that this really is an opportunity for profound redemption. But it is a journey, and it's a long journey. During that journey, you're probably going to wrestle with God. You're going to wonder if he's really there. You're probably going to say some not so nice things to him, and that's good because you're talking to him. You're staying connected to him. You may have a period of time where you want to pull away, and it's hard for you to pray. And I want you to know that's okay too, because he's not going anywhere. He's still right there. And he is comfortable. He's not scared when we wander off. He worries about us. He cares about us. But his relationship with us is firm. It's secure. So we have space to move in and out. But he is going to be your foundation. He is going to be your grounding. He is not going to be your accuser. So I just gave you a little bit of information. Maybe it feels like a whole lot of information, but it's really just the start. Now that you know, what are your next steps? First of all, I really want to encourage you, please don't do this alone. Find safe community. And that can be hard to do. Not every church has a nice support group already set there for you, but there are resources, so many more resources now than there were even 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, or let alone 26 years ago when I was looking for support. So we're here. There are a lot of people here that have been through it or who care and know how to walk alongside you. So take a look at the links at the end of this video. Look for someone that's going to help you. There are so many wonderful books out now as well that can help you give you ideas on how to move forward. But don't go alone. There are so many now trained clinicians, counselors, even coaches that know exactly how to help you go step by step through this process of, now that I know, what do I do? How do I move forward? How do I heal? Is it possible for my relationship to heal? What's going to happen in my marriage? What do I do about my kids? All of those things. There are a lot of people that have done the hard work to know exactly how to help you determine what your next steps are. But don't stop just with finding out and then holding that wound in, because that wound's going to fester and that trauma is not going to go away. It'll subside, but it'll be with you. And we want to help you not only heal that, but then experience the traumatic growth and the redemption that the Father has for you. Because He knows how to give His kids good gifts, and He loves redeeming the really hard times that we're in and giving us more than we could ever believe or imagine. That's what He's done for me. I would never have been sitting and talking to you like this on the other side of my discovery. But now my passion is doing this so that people know you're not alone.